gonna give myself, let's say, 1 hour, and I'm gonna try within that hour to get our. Let me give you some background. So, a while ago, well, Friday, I was working on a Chrome extension that adds Giphy support to GitHub comments or any text area on GitHub, right? So, actually, no, we shouldn't. Let's go back to my repository where I can safely make comments that I am not afraid of deleting. Pull requests, and we're going to talk with this dude. So, where is my gifs for GitHub? Hey, fuzzy buddy. Okay, so we did this thing, and I can search. It's not working anymore, but it was definitely working on Friday, so we're gonna figure that out. But the problem was that when it injected something into our into the text area itself stopped working because GitHub has a bunch of different things. Let me make my music less loud. So GitHub has a bunch of fancy JavaScript working with this text area. So what we're gonna try to do in the next hour is find a way to hack around that and keep the text area working even though we're injecting things into it. Or I think what I'm gonna do is just take over the text area itself. So starting the timer, and let's see if we can get this done in an hour. If we can't get it done in an hour, then I guess this Chrome extension is not happening. So first of all, let me actually open the project, because for some reason it's not open anymore. Random coding, giphs-for-github. So here we are. Let's reload this page again and hope that then it's going to start working. So let's say fuzzy buddy, enter, cannot read property type of undefined. So you see it added stuff in, but now the form doesn't work, so that's a problem. What we're gonna try to do is take over the text area itself and fake everything that it needs to do. The first step for doing that is going to be looking. So we can't actually go into GitHub's JavaScript and change it because that's not going to end well, and there's just too much stuff. So what we want is a generic way to take over a form while keeping all of the form's integrations. I believe that text area integrations are working via events. At some level, it's gonna have to be events, right? Even if they're using React or some fancy framework, they are gonna have to be listening to events on the actual text area, and that's something that we can hook into. So let's see. We've got the node. Is there a way to list all of the events for a node? Let's console log the node and see what that gives us. Might give us some useful info. No? Why isn't it? Node, parent node, insert. So console log. Oh, right. I forgot. Every time we make a change, we have to run yarn build and then reload the extension in the browser, and then we can see the actual changed code. Extensions, reload the page. So this cycle is going to be a little annoying, but I think it's going to be okay. So this is the node. It doesn't tell us what the events are. Can we list all listeners for a node? DOM get all event listeners on a node. Let's see if that. How to find event listeners on a DOM node. Getting a list of your event listeners so you can trigger it. List of all event listeners in a document. Okay, so this definitely exists. Coder wall, element click, has no method click. Getting the list of event listener on an element is currently impossible. Unless you just use jQuery. What? No, that can't be right. How old is this answer? This is from who knows when. Okay, list all event listeners. There we go. So we can take this thing. Here's a fork that lists events on a document as well. So we're going to use this. I'm going to, because it's not an open source repository, it's just a bunch of code, we're going to import it here. So I'm gonna make a, let's say, a utils file, So utils.js, and for utils.js we're going to say function list all event listeners. We're gonna copy it from here, and we're going to export that function, and we're going to say that we got it from borrowed from this page. Modifications added. So list all event listeners instead of the thing. So we're going to only get them for a specific node. So let elements equals array. We don't need that. What we do need, we can say that this is a, actually let's just pass in elements. So get the elements for let Eve event in window if on types blah, and then for let I less than elements we get the current element and elements of I. Then for this is very weird code. So for everything in the type length, current element types j equals function elements push current element listeners. Okay, so I think this will work, which means we can go into content.js and let's console log all event list all event listeners auto imported. That was beautiful. So I love it when auto import just works. So it auto imported list all event listeners for the node, and we will see what happens. Yarn build. So we're building the thing. Building the thing. Let's, come on, build yourself. Hey Candy Cane, it's going pretty well. I'm a little low on energy today because I went for a long run and I haven't eaten enough yet. But other than that, it's going pretty well. I'm trying to figure out how to hack through the e.filter is not a function. Trying to figure out how to hack through the what was I saying? How to hack over this thing. We need to, let's do that. What if we say node is an array? So I'm trying to hack through the GitHub form so that we can inject content into the text area, yes, the text area, without breaking the functionality that GitHub has built. It's also kind of difficult speaking in English right now because I had a long phone call with my mom, and whenever I do that, it kind of breaks my English for a while because we speak in Slovenian, and it's just like my mind gets confused. It's surprisingly difficult to switch back and forward all the time, or not even all the time, just sometimes. So content.js 1 is getting confused at, it literally does rewire my brain. listeners.length, element listeners.length. Okay, so we gotta, let's see, what does type say? Actually, so elements.length, and I think this is where it's getting confused, right? Length of undefined, content.js formatted. So listeners.length, this is the code we're looking at. So because we don't have source maps, we have to do some really weird debugging where we have to look at the compiled code before, and then kind of in our mind translate it back to the uncompiled code and potentially see what happens. listeners.length. Why does element not have listeners? Elements push. Okay, let's fix that. So we're going to say node. We're going to keep it as just a specific node, and we're going to say that this is get all event listeners. We're going to change this to get all event listeners, and I'm gonna have to go up here and change this code as well. So we have get all event listeners, and instead of doing it like this, there's one fewer, it's basically one fewer thing that we need to do, or so const types, and then we have const, let's say let elements equals, actually we're only going to get one of them, aren't we? We go through the types and we push here, we say let listen, oh come on, let listeners equals an empty array. Then we take the node and we push it into listeners, and we don't need to say the node. What we do need to give are the listeners, like that. So node type, so we have listeners push, and then listeners, we actually just need to flatten that. So we're going to return listeners.flat. And I think that will work. Let's see if it does. Yarn build, and we're going to, because we're only doing it for one node, we don't need to because we're only doing it for one node, we don't need the nested looping and all the fancy stuff. Modified for single node, and I think that will help us do what we want. And the idea is that if we render a text area and attach all of the same event listeners to it, then GitHub shouldn't even notice that the text area has been changed. That's the idea, at least. We'll see if it actually works. So reload the page, get the node. Ooh. But I don't think it's possible for the text area to have hidden security features. At least I've never heard of that before. And now, of course, problem is that it didn't return anything. So why does it say that this doesn't have any event listeners? I am sure that it does. Let's see, DOM content loaded. So event listeners for this text area. See, because we also have the text expander, which is a web component, and then file attachment, which is a web component, timeline comment, which is this whole thing. So this is all like, there's a lot going on with this text area. Hey Sasha, are you going to bed already? Well, I'm happy that you joined for just a little bit. So why is this not doing things? How do we, what are framework listeners? Resolve event listeners bound with framework. Ancestors, show listeners of ancestors, no. Let's see, I just want to get, that's our input, text area, there we go. So these are the, if we take away the framework listeners, that still works, but we have the blur, change, drag over, and drop, input, key down, mouse move, and paste. Oh, that's what we can do. This will actually be, if we can trigger a paste event, so instead of, yes, that will be a better solution. So I think what we can do, see, if I write my code here, and let's say, what should we call this? Let's just say https giphy.com fuzzy.gif, whatever. If I paste this in, then it's still then the form isn't going to break. Paste, see, it still works, and I can still type without errors. Actually, no, I cannot type without errors, but at least it works, which means that if we can fake a paste event, so if we can fake a paste event, then we should be able to just add content to the thing. Okay, so we go here, and instead of directly adding to the value, we're going to new event paste. How do we JavaScript paste event? Let's see, event paste event, clipboard event on paste. How do we do it? Event clipboard data, paste to uppercase, delete. How do I fake a paste event? That's the real question. Clipboard event, clipboard event. Okay, let's try that. Let's say target.dispatch event new clip, no, also inherits properties from its parent event. How do I fake a clipboard event though? It says that constructor clipboard event, let's see, new clipboard event type options, new clipboard event, we say that it's a type of paste and it's got clipboard data type, a DOM string data. What does this mean? Working draft, but it got support in Chrome, right? Because we're building a Chrome extension, we don't need any other support, so that's great. So we can say, what is a data transfer? Actually, let's go back. So we have the options which come as this thing, and we're going to set search as null. What? Okay. Set search as null, and we say clipboard data is a new data transfer. So what does the data transfer contain? A data transfer constructor. New data transfer, it has none. Files, items. This is an experimental technology. Clear data, get data, set data. There we go. We're going to say, let's just make it as clipboard data, and we're gonna say let clipboard data equals a new data transfer event, and then we say clipboard data dot set data. What do we put in? Let's see, set data, format data is a DOM string. Format, a DOM string representing the type to add to the drag object. What? Set data text plain. There we go. Text plain, and our data is going to be the GIF. Let's see what happens. And why is set search getting React set stake action parsing errors? What? Oh, that's what. I forgot a parentheses. So this should now just work, which means we can delete this stuff. And actually, let's see if it just works. Yarn build. So we're compiling the thing, and we will see if it works. Great. That got builded. I can now reload my extension and reload the page. Let's remove that, reload the page again. And we say fuzzy body, enter. Cannot read property type of undefined, and it also didn't paste. Meh. Okay, that didn't work. How do we dispatch that? Event data transfer, set data, drag over handler, prevent default, append child, clear data. A DOM string representing, let's see, what else can we do? How do we actually trigger events? Let's look at the actual specification. That might help. Looking at the specs for things always helps. Let's see what other event. So there's a paste event, or a paste event listener. What is listening for that? There's also an input. What's an input event? I've never heard of an input event. Has anyone heard of an input event before? I also wonder what would happen if we just triggered key down events for the whole thing. That might be easier than trying to fake it a form. Okay, let's try. Actually, let's try dispatching a keyboard event. Let's see. target.dispatch event new event key down A. Let's see if that actually we can play around here. We don't need to go through the entire loop of writing the code, compiling the code, and then doing stuff. We can say text area equals document get element by ID. We said it was ID new comment field. So we've got the text area. Then we can say text area dot dispatch event new event key down A. Parameter event inject is not an object. Okay. How do we make a key down event? Where would we go to look for that? We need the event thingy. So event HTML dispatch event interfaces based on event blob event before unload keyboard event. Perfect. A new keyboard event get modifier state. What does the constructor say? Keyboard event init. So we need the key. All right. So we can say it like this. Text area. Oh, let me zoom this in. Text area dot dispatch event new keyboard event. We say type is key down, and then the event inject is going to be what? So the event inject needs a key code or control key shift key code. What? Let's try key A. Why isn't it? Okay. What are the possible events? Event types. Keyboard event. We go into the constructor. Is a DOM string representing the input events are firing when changing the value. Change only fires after the change is committed. After selecting a new select value and thing while jumping through the drop down. I'm not sure I know what you mean by that. Do we need to also do a text area dispatch event new event change? So oh, I see what you mean. That's what an input event is. Okay, that's good to know. So how do I fake typing into JavaScript? Fake typing into text area. Wonderful. Simulate keyboard input. Trigger keyboard event. How old is this question? Set keyword text. So this is from 2018, which should be fine. Get element by ID. Document create events. Change. What? Okay, so element.value equals text. No, that's exactly what we don't want. I don't want to set the text value. I want to be able to fake typing it in. Okay, let's go back to the idea of faking the actual text area itself, because we clearly, or at least I'm not smart enough to figure out which events to keep firing, like how to fire all of these events to get the value into the text area. So what I can try is, let's see, get elements, get root node, get bounding client rect, Set range text. Set range text, that could be useful. What does set range text do again? Set range text, replacement, start and selection mode. So if we say hello and we start at 0, failed to execute on HTML tag, valid arities are 1, 3, 4, but 2 arguments provided. Ooh. And did that break the form? It did break the form. Text area trigger, no. Dispatch event, new event change. Yep, still didn't figure it out, so that's not gonna work. See, because we need the whatever GitHub is using as their framework, we need it to figure out when things are changing, and I'm not sure how to do that. So how can we get a list of events, list of listeners on a list of listeners on DOM node? How to find getting a list of your event listeners so you can trigger it. JavaScript DOM event listeners. Let's see. Add event. Yeah, that's how we add one. How do we get them? Remove event listener. How do we list them? Add many. Add an event handler, passing parameters, event bubbling. The remove event listener. DOM event object reference. No. Let's see what else. Event, add event listener. So there's gotta be some way to get a list of current listeners because Chrome is doing it, right? So if Chrome is doing it, that means there's gotta be a way. Let's see. Event target, constructor, add event, remove dispatch, set get event handler for DOM string type. What does this mean? Mozilla includes a couple of extensions to use by JS implemented event targets to implement on event properties. Okay, so text area dot get event handler. No. Does anyone know how does Chrome get this list of event listeners? Can we get that? Because that would be pretty useful, but I can't figure it out. Burn key down, change. Because that would also work if we could fire these functions, but I don't think we can. Or if we could fire key down events, like how do screen readers do this, or how do assistive devices do it? That would be an interesting way to do it. Our text area. Let's try something else. Dispatch. Trigger key press event JavaScript. Let's see. Trigger a key press key up in JS jQuery. No. Is it possible to simulate key press events programmatically? That's the one we want. A non-jQuery version that works in both WebKit and Gecko. Wow, this is very old. Create event, and then we keyboard init method, dispatch events. jQuery trigger click, no. Dispatch event, new keyboard event, key press, key A. Let's try this one. This looks like the winner. So let's see. Text area dot dispatch event key A, but it doesn't show up. So that's so weird. Like why isn't it showing up? If we are dispatching a key press event, right, on the thing, then why isn't it being detected? That's my question. I think that answer should mention the fact that dispatched in JS event doesn't update input content. It works, but seems that key press is deprecated, using key down instead. Okay, but I think even key down doesn't make it work. Keyboard event, key down, that still doesn't update the content. So let's see. It works but requires a modern browser. Latest Firefox isn't modern. I didn't test this, but it's adapted for dispatch. You probably want to read through that. And also the docs for create event and init key event. This is supported by Gecko browsers only. That is very old. Will not produce any text. You can create and dispatch keyboard events and they will trigger appropriate registered event handlers. However, they will not produce any text. To fully simulate text input, you need to produce a sequence of keyboard events plus explicitly set the text of input element. Okay, so let's try doing all of that then. We're going to dispatch the thing textarea.value plus equals a. That gives us the thing, and then textarea.dispatch event, new event change. New event change, and nope, everything got broken. No, it didn't get broken. Only sort of got broken. Why is this so hard? Okay, so if we say, let's see, additional methods for Chrome, simple implementation of event target. What does this one say? Let's go back to JavaScript, to Stack Overflow. Simulate key press, trigger type key press, which character code. Nope. Recreate keyboard input events reliably in order to change text in input area, move cursors on the page or blah. It should focus, and then for each character key down before input, key press, then optionally for most. Interesting. Maybe we do need an input event. Okay. Wow, I am really getting into weird things, aren't I? This is from Twitter. Okay, keyboard event, key down, bubbles true, cancelable true, object defined property, key code, get, return this key code val, document dispatch event. This one looks useful. Does it look useful? So it looks like we need to fake a lot of things. Hey Alesh, how are you doing today? Wow, we are really digging through some very deep JavaScript stuff here, aren't we? So I'm trying to figure out exactly the sequence of events I need to fake to get a to get this working. So let's give it another shot from scratch. I'm gonna go here, and then we're gonna look at how do we trigger an input event. And I'm gonna use, which one did I say looked good down here? Simulate key press. Key down, key up. Let's try this one. Yeah, it's pretty late in Slovenia, isn't it? So we need to say that it bubbles. Maybe that's what I was doing wrong. Okay, let's try that again. So we're going to say textarea dot dispatch event new keyboard event key down, and we say key down, key is A, and we say bubbles are true, right? True. Let's look it up. So we have keyboard event, keyboard init, code, location, shift key, alt key, repeat is composing, character code, location, bubbles. How do we make it bubble? Maybe that's what's wrong. Maybe we're not bubbling things correctly. Keyboard event, constructor, methods, init key event, bubble. How do we make it bubble? Key down, key press. The event type, key down, key press, or key up identifies what kind of keyboard activity occurred. Deprecated key press. This feature is no longer recommended, though some browsers might still support it. And key up. Bubbles, yes, the key up event is fired when a key is released. It bubbles and does things, okay. And key down also bubbles and does things. Perfect. So we don't need to tell it to do that. So key A first does a key down. Text area is no longer defined, right? So let's see, text area document blah. Then we say text area dispatch event key down, and then the key goes up. So key up. That still didn't write it down. The bot father on YouTube. Nice. That's awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. The bot. Also, that's a really cool name, the bot father. So key down, key up. What else do we need to do? Where was I? Keyboard. Focus dispatched on down with the key down. Before input, I don't know what that does. Key press. Input, what does the input one do? So text area dispatch event new input event. And what do input events do? Let's look it up. So API input event creates an input event object. What are the possible types? Input type. I don't know what the values for the input event are, or for the input event type. Properties, type. String containing characters to insert, input type, a string specifying the type of change for editable content, such as, for example, inserting, deleting, or formatting text. So we can say that it's an insert, right? Input event insert, then we say input event init, input type, a string specifying the type of change. So what did we say it was called? Input type insert, and the data is A. What else do we need? Is composing, ranges, we don't need any of that. And then text area dispatch event new event change. And what else do we need? Let's see, change and then key up. And we can do key up again. Key up, key A, and it didn't show up. So okay, let's try text area dot value plus equals A, and then we run the keyboard event key down, keyboard event key up, keyboard event input, where is it? Keyboard input event, and keyboard event, no, the change event. Where was the change event? Event change, and I still can't. Yeah, we broke it. Input argument is not an HTML input element. Get form profile, set field value, form key down listener. So they have something called a key down listener, which gets the event mapped input and then sets the field value. So what we need is a way to trigger the key down listener form event, right? Yeah, so how do we do that? Where is the form key down listener happening? Yeah, because the problem is that actually, you know what we can do? We know which event listeners we need, right? So maybe we can actually fake the text area. Let's see, text area. So text area dot get event. What was it? Get event listener. Add event listener dispatch. So how does this thing try to get event listeners? Node of types J. Text area dot blur. That's a native code. So how do we know that blur has an event listener? Document dot get event dom get event listener. How do we do that? Dom add event listener. How do I get event listeners? Visual event 2, handler, element on click equals handler, add event listener, yes. Get event listeners. There we go, that's what I was looking for. So get event listeners in their developer tools console. Get event listeners. So what if we do get event listeners of text area? So that works, which means we can get them, but can we do that in the actual code as well? Is it document.get event? Because I don't know if get event listeners is just something that exists in the Chrome console, or is it actually part of the browser? So let's try get all have fun, Alesh. Wait, get all event listeners. Is that Yes, that is my code. Okay, let's try get event listeners for the node, and we will see if that works. It says that is not defined, right? So we can do it here, but we can't do it in code. What if we say textarea blur? That gives me some code. Is there really no way to get event listeners for an element? That is so messed up. Let's see, what if we trigger a keyboard event on the DOM itself? Init keyboard event, type arc, keyboard event code, location. Like, we can't really trigger it on a specific thing, can we? This is really annoyingly difficult. Like, the problem is so simple in theory, but so very difficult in practice. Actually, what if we do this? So I think that didn't work before, did it? We say target.value plus equals blah, and then we can say target.dispatch event new event change. And let's see, when we get an event, constructor add event listener dispatch event, can we tell that event to remove event bubbling and caption settings on each handler triggered event.bubbles? So there we go. New event. We are going to tell it to bubble. So bubbles true. And let's see if that magically makes it work. And if it does, I will be super happy, even though this is kind of ridiculous that it took me so long to figure out. So we will see. I suspect it's still not going to work, but we can try. Get event listeners doesn't exist. Yarn build. Out term. Then I can go here, and I can go here. Reload this baby, then reload the page, and let's see if it works. I'm gonna say here fuzzy body. It said that it can't read type of undefined, and it didn't work. So what couldn't read type of undefined? Let's see. If password is our type, what? So set field value, form key down event listener. So it figured out the event listener. It triggered the form key down event listener, and it said that the input was t.target and the event was t. Okay, so that triggered. Input was t.target from user 0. So it means that it saw our change event, went into the key down listener, decided that whatever, and then set field value does what? Set field value formatted. So this is the set field value function where it gets r from t dot field. Hey militant penguin, militant penguin? Are you planning to take over the world with a military of penguins? I don't know what this does. If password equals r.type, so r is t.field, which means that here when we're dispatching an event change, it is not figuring out what the field is. Which means, what does that mean? What does that mean? So we are correctly triggering the key down listener, but it's getting confused because it doesn't know where it was dispatched. So can we tell the event what the actual target is? Boolean the event will trigger listeners outside of a shadow route. Wow. New event look, cancelable false. Okay. What else does event say to us? Default prevented, deep path, original target, return value, source element, event.target. Maybe that's the problem. Event.creates a new. What does thumbs down mean here? This deprecated API should not be used. Okay. Methods, stop immediate, stop propagation, get, prevent default, prevent capture, prevent. So I think when we are dispatching the event on our target, on the text area, somehow it doesn't know what it got dispatched on. Let's actually, we can try that. I'm gonna take this out, and then we're gonna go to form key down listener, and we're gonna add a breakpoint here. So now now we're gonna see what actually happens, or we're gonna be able to inspect things. So we can say fuzzy body, press enter, and the breakpoint didn't work at all. Wow. What's the point of setting breakpoints if they don't work? Okay. Breakpoints. Let's try that again. Fuzzy body. Ah, now it works. Okay. So we've got the field value, or we're trying to set the field value, and we know that this is a keyboard event with the key enter, code enter, location, control key false. Interesting. So it was actually when I pressed enter on fuzzy body, that's what caused the problem. So what we need to do here on submit, not just event prevent default, but also event prevent how do we stop propagation? Event stop propagation? No. Event stop propagation. How do we do that? Because I think maybe that was the problem. When I stop propagation, basically when I pressed enter, that bubbled up and got and broke the listener stuff, or like caused an error in the framework, and then the framework stops working, and that's what's causing problems. So let's see. We can stop the propagation on the submission event. What else can we do? On change, event set search, event target dot value, and we can also say on, yeah, let's try just that. So yarn build. It looks like when I press enter, that's confusing things. Okay then. So reload the page. Come on, just reload the page for me. And we gives for GitHub. Reload that one, go down. Or reload the page, go here. And I can delete this, reload the page again, so we have a clean slate. And then I can write fuzzy body, press enter. And it still didn't quite work. And now everything is okay, let's just take the breakpoint away and reload the page. Come on page, reload yourself. Okay, how much time do I have? I have 6 more minutes left. Let's see, let's get this done. Okay, I'm going to, this Chrome tab is dead. So let's open a new Chrome tab. And let's see, add a GIF, fuzzy body. Still didn't quite work because on key down, let's try here on key down, we are going to let's do just on key down and function on key down event if event dot, actually let's console log it first, console log event, and we're gonna see what the enter event looks like. So yarn build. Wow, that is a very loud card out there. So yarn build builds the thing. Then we go into my extensions, reload that extension, reload the page. Oh, not that page, because that page is dead. Reload this page. So reloading the page, and let's see. If you press enter, it says control key is default prevented, get modifier state key null, target null. Why is everything null? Cancelable, blah, key code null. Why is... Alright, let's add a debugger statement there. Yarn build, try again. So the reason I'm adding a debugger statement is so that I can see the actual values at the time that they're being set rather than afterwards, because the Chrome console is dynamic. So if the values change after an event, we're going to see the latest stuff instead of what we're expecting to see, and that is potentially quite annoying. So I'm gonna go in here and press enter. Why does the debugger statement no longer work? Okay, React key down enter. How to handle on key press event in React.js. Key press enter if event dot key is enter. Okay, if event dot key equals enter, then we say, how do I stop propagation? Yes, they're synthetic events. So potentially prevent default and stop propagation aren't even working. So prevent default, except that the events work identically across. It has the same interface as the browser's native things. Okay, cool. So we can then say event.stop propagation and event.prevent default. Right. And we will see if that works. Okay. Keyboard events, let's see. On key down, on key press. DOM level 3. Enter. Wonderful. So it can say enter. Perfect. we yarn build. So now we are specifically detecting the enter key press and stopping it, and hopefully that will make the extension work. So go here, reload this page, giphs for GitHub, and reload, and we can say fuzzy enter, and nope, still does not work. Except now it also doesn't submit. What if we add a button? So let's add here, find Giphy, and what else? We are dispatching a change event and everything. So what if here we say button type submit, and we add a, let's say, that, an emoji, and maybe pressing that button will make it work and pressing enter doesn't work. But other than that, I am getting really out of ideas here, because we can't seem to correctly fake input events so that GitHub's text area integration is happy, and it doesn't look like we can get the list of event listeners from the GitHub's text area to be able to completely fake the integration. So I don't think in that case there's not going to be anything we can do, basically. Okay, fuzzy tap, and nope, does not work. Yeah, so I don't know how to fix this. I'm gonna try asking around on Twitter, see if anyone has any ideas. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to admit defeat and not get this working. So sorry about that, but yeah, I hope it was interesting to observe. So thanks for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye guys.